Friday, August 6th, I logged into my YouTube account to find a video response to a previous video response of mine to the Kalam Cosmological Argument from a user named ResurrectedThinker. In his video, Resurrected attempts to defend the cosmological argument by addressing my objections to it. One of the first things I want to address about Resurrected's video is his very first objection to my own video.
Jeremiah, at the beginning of your video, you objected to the cosmological argument by saying that it doesn't count as evidence. You gave two reasons for this objection. First, you complained that the cosmological argument is just an old argument that you've heard too many times, and that therefore it's not really evidence.
I never said in my video, nor would I ever, that the cosmological argument or any other is not evidence because I've simply heard it too many times. The cosmological argument fails for reasons I will address in a bit. You have misheard me. What I was doing was addressing my disdain for the repeated use of this argument because of its flawed reasoning it subscribes to, not dismissing it because it's simply been used too much, which of course wouldn't make any sense. Of course my disdain is irrelevant to whether or not I can address the argument's flaws. It was only an offhanded mention of my feelings toward the argument.
Kalam is a very simple, deductive argument that follows logically from its premises, which are that everything that begins to exist has a cause and that the universe began to exist. If both of these premises are true, then it follows logically and clearly that the universe has a cause. It can then be argued, I think, pretty persuasively that the cause of the universe must be, a transcendent, free agent acting out of its own free will.
As you stated, the premises of the Kalam cosmological argument are as follows. First, everything that begins to exist has a cause, and second, the universe began to exist. It is then usually followed by creationists arguing that this cause must be a supernatural being, as you stated yourself, which I object to on its own, and that there isn't any reason or way to draw from the universe having a cause to it must be a god. That aside, I want to address the premises themselves you're presenting because I think both of them are flawed. Firstly, concerning the premise that everything begins to exist, as is usually done in response to this argument, I challenge you or anyone that subscribes to this argument to name anything in nature that begins to exist. Nothing begins to exist. What we do see is energy simply being reordered and rearranged. Energy being something that has always existed as far as current scientific understanding is concerned in one form or another. So the idea that something has to begin to exist itself doesn't logically follow. It's something that you'd need to demonstrate if you want to use as one of your premises for your argument. Secondly, in regard to our universe having a beginning, what I think you're failing to understand here is that science's current understanding of the universe does not show that the universe had any type of beginning. The Big Bang is not concerned with the actual origins of the cosmos. What the Big Bang model states is that the universe has evolved or expanded from an extremely dense and hot state to a less dense and cooled state, where around the first 300 to 400,000 years, hydrogen and helium were able to form. This state, of course, is the one that we live in today, in which we see all matter such as stars, planets, asteroids, galaxies, etc. But there isn't anything that states in our current understanding, which the cosmological argument refers to when saying the universe had a beginning, that the cosmos had any type of beginning.
Right, so Jeremiah, there's some problems with your objection to Kalam. First, you misunderstand the first premise of the argument. If you'll remember, it says that whatever begins to exist has a cause. It does not say that whatever exists must have a cause. God, at least according to Christians like myself, exists outside of time and therefore has no beginning or end, never began to exist. Therefore, the first premise does not apply to him, since it only says that whatever begins to exist must have a cause. Then what was the creator? Who was the creator of that creator? What was the cause of that creator? Same basic argument, but I think the error here is that you're not really addressing the issue. It's sort of a non sequitur. We don't need to have an explanation of the explanation.
Now, I don't normally address this because it's not a point at all. What you're doing is exempting your side of the argument from your own argument. Aside from that, though, there are problems with a non-temporal being. One of which is that being non-temporal essentially insinuates that something is static, and any action would create a before and after state, invoking time, and God has demonstrated many times to perform actions throughout the Bible, and is never once mentioned to reside outside of time and space in the Bible, an idea that's a product of Christian apologists. Frankly, Resurrected, when you just invent your own justifications out of thin air to objections that contradict your own ideas, you can't be taken seriously, and there's a certain point when you simply cannot be proven wrong due to exempting your ideas despite a lack of evidence to do so. In other words, what can be asserted without evidence can be dismissed without evidence. You do need to explain what you are asserting. If it isn't already enough that you haven't provided evidence your God exists to begin with, now you're claiming that you don't have to explain the nature or explanation for that which you are asserting but haven't proven. My final thoughts on the Kalam Cosmological Argument, the main focus of this video, is that the current understanding of cosmology does not state the universe had an actual beginning. So I don't think the argument presents factual premises. Never mind that I think that even if they were true, arguing that an omnipotent, omnibenevolent, omnipresent, transcendent, supernatural being would not be a reasonable or necessarily plausible conclusion to come to for those effects. You would need to demonstrate why that explanation is more plausible than any natural one.